It gives you a countdown? That's cool. So we're now live?
We're now live.
Wow. Well, like always, we will wait for a minute to see if anybody would like to join us. Maybe my mom will watch today. Hard to say. Oh, you said she is? Isn't she still in her meeting? Oh.
Maybe.
Hey, there's a school bus. It's not mine though. I was about to say it's pretty topical. Marion. Probably is that photography class.
Where are your field trips from?
What'd you say?
Where are your field trips from today?
One is Prairie Elementary from somewhere in Minnesota. I can't remember where. And the other, I have no idea. I have not checked.
Cross that bridge.
What?
Cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'll look before they come. I'm not too worried. You want me to get started?
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another behind the scenes Facebook Live here at the Butterfly House and Aquarium, where we show you some stuff you might not see when you normally come. Normally, if you watch these semi-regularly, I have someone else standing next to me. Today I do not, because I am going to be interviewing myself. Not really, but I'm going to be talking about our field trips here at the Butterfly House and Aquarium. And the reason we're standing outside is because we are standing where all field trips begin. So, before anybody comes in the building, we have our kids line up out here so that we don't have to go through our small entryway with them, so we don't have to go through our gift shop with them. So we can start right out here and we go through this side door. So why don't we go inside and get started? Thank you, Beth. So, field trips here at the Butterfly House are free for all K through 5 students who are currently in class and all school staff. That's thanks to our Floyd grant. And since they're free, that means that around 3,200 students or so between April 1st and the end of May. So in about really more like a month and a half long period, we're planning on having 3,200 students in the building. We're already well over halfway through that, and they've been going really well. We have 3 field trips per day. They start at 9 a.m. before the building even technically opens, so some of those kids get in here before any other guests get to, and they don't end until 1:30. So we have about 4.5 hours of field trips per day. A field trip lasts an hour and a half, and it goes an hour and a half straight, and they run back to back. So they go 9 to 10:30, 10:30 to 12, and 12 to 1:30. And we have a maximum of 80 students per field trip. And so if you've ever been in our building before, which I hope you have, if you haven't, you should come to our building. But if you've never been here before, or if you have been here before, you know that's a lot of people for our building. And since it's so many people for our building, we actually break up our field trip groups into 4 separate groups, as long as it's a big group. If it's a small group of only 20 students or something like that, then we might just do 2 groups. But generally we'll have 4 different groups in 4 different areas at once, and then they rotate every 20 minutes. I know that might sound kind of convoluted, but I promise it makes sense. So this is where everything starts. Like I said, they come in this hallway, take off all their jackets, all their hats, which I should probably take off, but I'm going to keep it on for now. All of their outerwear and all, just like you have to do when you normally come to the building. The students don't get treated any differently. And then they get given a tag of a different color. We have 4 different colors. And like I said, we have those 4 different groups. So these tags help us remember what group each kid is in. When you have 80 kids in this building, all walking around each other when it's time to rotate, it can get really confusing. So if we have a tag on them, we know exactly who is 1 in the field trip group and 2 what group they're supposed to be a part of. And then all students also get one of these nifty field guides with a clipboard. This field guide is essentially like their activity guide while they're in here. There is a section for each area, for each rotation, that helps them do an activity. And it gives them a little bit of guidance while they're here, so they're not just running around crazy. They still get to have fun, they still get to look at everything, but it gives them something to do. Hopefully they learn a little bit, hopefully they take something home, and they get to take this home with them so that they can show their parents what they did when they came for their field trip. So why don't we start our little field trip, our little mini field trip here, and I'll take you to our first area. We do also require a chaperone to student ratio of 4 to 10, or excuse me, oh goodness, 1 to 10 while they're here. So for example, if you have 80 students, you have to have at least 8 adults of some sort of another, whether that's a chaperone, a teacher chaperone, or excuse me, a parent chaperone, a staff member, a bus driver. As long as you have at least 8, you're good to go. And a lot of schools have a lot more than that, because with younger kids especially, it can be really nice to have a lot of adults to help them out. So in here, this is the Discovery Den. And the activity in here is actually pretty easy and pretty fun, but it depends on the age group. So I'll show this to you. This is our Discovery Den page, and at first glance it looks pretty blank. It's just a bunch of empty boxes, but those empty boxes are full of dreams and promises. So for students who are K through 2, their goal on this page is going to be to draw the butterfly life cycle. If you know anything about the butterfly life cycle, you'll know that it is 4 stages. So it is the egg, then the caterpillar, then the chrysalis, and then the butterfly. We have this giant board right here that helps them out. It tells them essentially exactly what it is. And we also have these little sets of cards that the kids can get and be in partners with and to work it out. So there's 4 cards so they can work out what the life cycle is. And the biggest goal in this room is going to be for the kids to work on their communication. Each room, each area, each rotation has sort of a theme, and the theme is some sort of scientific skill. The one in here being communication. So the idea is that they have to work together, they have to talk to each other to figure it out. Now, if you're a if you're a 3 through 5th student, 3rd grade through 5th grade, you have to do something a little bit more involved. So you're still going to be drawing the butterfly life cycle, but you're going to have a partner draw the moon jellyfish life cycle as well, which is over here on the wall. And hopefully if they are friends with each other and they communicate well, they'll come back together after one student has drawn the butterfly life cycle, the other has drawn the moon jellyfish life cycle, and then they'll communicate with each other, they'll show each other their drawings, they'll talk to each other about it, and then they will hopefully draw the other life cycle in their field guide. And so that's why these boxes are so big, is so that they can draw lines in them, make additional boxes, so they can have enough boxes to draw the jellyfish life cycle and the butterfly life cycle, and then communicate with each other. Once the students in here are done with the activity, all the activities are designed to really only take probably hopefully 5 to at most 10 minutes, so that the students can then look around and explore their area. So we obviously have the Discovery Den in here that they can look around, they can play with all of our fun interactive activities, and then when they're finished looking around in here, they can also go around the corner and they can look at obviously all of our wonderful, beautiful mounted butterflies, and then all of our animal ambassador exhibits as well, so that they have an opportunity to look at this. So they have a whole lot to do in this area, even though at first glance sometimes they might roll their eyes and say, oh, we're stuck in this room. No, they can come and do all sorts of stuff. So once they're finished with the Discovery Den, like I said, 20 minutes per rotation, and they're listening to the fun music that we have blaring today, they're going to move on into the aquarium. And although we are looking at a tank right now, that is not the aquarium tank that we're going to be talking about. We're going to go into our main aquarium. So, now we're in the aquarium. And we have to go to a new page in our field guide. The page we are going to go to is titled Aquarium, if I can get it. There we go. There it is. Put it on my clipboard. Here's our aquarium page. Now, the activity in here is hopefully helping the kids practice their observation skills. So, the students are asked to go around to our exhibits and count the number of a few different species that they can find. So you can see there's a clownfish, a seahorse, a yellow tang, a sea star, and a blue tang. So the idea is that they need to go around and look and observe and see how many of these different species they can find. Something like the clownfish, for example, there's a lot of clownfish in here. It can be kind of tough to count all those. A lot of times for the younger kids, they have a bit of trouble counting them all. They might need help from a chaperone or something like that. And then we'll go to the seahorses and do the same thing. Then they'll go to our Indo-Pacific coral reef and do the same thing. And then they'll go to our Pacific tide pool and do the exact same thing. And look and see how many of these animals they can find. And it's a really great way for them to have some sort of guided activity to do that really doesn't feel like work. It's more they're going and they're still just looking at the exhibits like they normally would, but they have a purpose with what they're doing. They're not just running around to each one for half a second and slamming on the glass and screaming. They're going and saying, I want to actually see how many of this fish are in there. I want to challenge myself and see if I can get it correct. Even though I've tried to count the number of clownfish in that exhibit, I don't know what it is. Whatever the kids tell me is correct, as long as they give it their best try. And so once they're finished with the activity, they just continue to look around in here. They have 20 minutes in here. That's usually enough time to see pretty much everything. And so they can explore, look at all of our interesting and cool exhibits. The jellyfish are usually one of the most popular. And then once they are finished in here, it would be time to move on to the conservatory. So why don't we do that? Conservatory is interesting because there are a lot of rules in here that a lot of the kids don't necessarily know before they came, even though all the teachers get all the rules beforehand as well as a whole bunch of other information. And they don't always have the best time remembering the rules while they're in here. So whenever I get them into this room, our entrance vestibule, I always go over the rules with them. And the rules are pretty simple. It's don't touch the butterflies. Don't run, because the path in there is usually, especially in the morning, really slippery and wet. And rule 3 is don't climb anything, because we have a new fence, we have a bunch of benches, and kids love to climb stuff. So once I go over all those rules with them in here, usually they're not too overstimulated yet, and I say it's time to go on in, and things change quickly. So usually the first thing that happens when you come in here is immediately you get one of two reactions from a child. It is either, ooh, and they're looking around, or it is complete and utter fear that the butterflies are going to eat them or pick them up and fly them away and drop them and hurt them or something like that. And no matter how much you explain to a lot of kids, they'll never understand that butterflies can't hurt you. But that's okay. We get them in here. We either come to some of these benches up here, we go to our middle pavilion area and sit at those benches. Then we have them turn to their conservatory page, and they have another activity to do. And the activity in here is going to be to color in a butterfly, but not just any butterfly. The idea is to hopefully color in a butterfly that either uses colors to blend in using camouflage or stand out using bright colors. The idea is that a butterfly with bright colors is hopefully signaling to predators that, hey, I'm poisonous, you don't want to eat me, I'm going to make you sick, stay away from me. And obviously camouflage is a great way for a butterfly to hide from predators. So that's their goal, is to color in these butterflies. They have a set of crayons that actually live in here because they're not allowed to leave, and they get to sit and color. They are allowed to stand up and just walk around in here and just enjoy the butterflies. This room is usually a really big hit. Most kids, especially who have not been here before, probably haven't ever been to a butterfly house. And so getting to come in here and look around. Hello, welcome back. Technical difficulties, that's okay. What I was going to say is that I didn't mention for this activity, the scientific skill that they're working on is classifying. So they are classifying their butterfly that they drew as either a butterfly that uses camouflage or a butterfly that stands out using bright colors. The technical word for that, the scientific word, is aposematism, in case you were curious. And then once they're finished, like I said, they walk around in here, and that's about it. We just wait for the rotation time, and then we rotate. So let's go. Now we're in our entrance vestibule where we have to check for butterflies. So we have all the kids look in the mirror on their front side and on their back side. They all check their friends. And then once we know we have no butterflies in the room, and I sure don't see any, we head on out the door. From the conservatory, we come right and we go towards our classroom. Now, a lot of you might have been here before and said, classroom? I didn't know you had a classroom. And to be honest, neither did we, until we decided to transform one of our storage rooms into our classroom. So, when you first walk into this room, you may say, it's a classroom, kind of. And you're right, it is kind of a classroom. We have all the hallmarks of a classroom. We have fun posters on the wall. We have tables and chairs. We have our teacher's table up here. But then when you look up, you notice that there are a lot of pipes and there are a lot of other things. But it's okay. It serves our purposes adequately, I would say. And we have a nice, fun, movable wall over there, which is kind of neat. Which, surprisingly, no children have broken so far. So, this is, for our field trip, our last station. Some kids start in here, but only one group. And we, of course, have a classroom page. Now, this is our most involved activity because the activity in here is designed to always be guided by an educator here. Every other activity is designed to be guided by either a teacher or a chaperone, if needed. So they're all pretty simple. But since we have a staff member in here, no matter what, we can make our activities a little bit more involved. So the activity in here is focused on measurement and measuring and practicing your measuring. And it's twofold. And how far we get in it completely depends on the level of the children that we're dealing with. So the first thing that the students are supposed to do is measure one of their fish. Now, I know you watching are probably saying, wow, that's easy, measure a fish. It's not. Believe it or not. If you are a kindergartner, a first grader, a second grader, sometimes using a ruler it's not just you have to be taught how to do it. It doesn't just come naturally. A lot of these kids maybe have used a ruler, but they've certainly never used a clear ruler that has centimeters and inches on it. So you have to go through it all with them and teach them, how do you use this ruler correctly to get an accurate measurement. So once they measure their fish, I'll measure this clownfish. He is 9 inches long. They write down how long it is in the box next to clownfish. And some kids don't know what a shark is, or a clownfish is, or a stingray, or a sea turtle. You have to show them exactly which animal is which. But they write down how long it is in that box. And usually, that's about as far as you get with the younger kids. Probably up, especially kindergartners and first graders, we don't get any further. Sometimes we get a little bit further for the older kids, but it just depends. But if we are getting further, the next step in this activity is to weigh out the proper amount of food for that animal. So we have a little chart on our paper that says exactly how much food each animal needs. So if you measure your animal to be 9 inches long, you need 50 grams of food. That's how long our animal was. So I'll weigh out 50 grams of food. We have these fun, colorful plastic fish that we use to weigh out our food. It's fish, they're food, it makes sense. We feed a lot of our animals here fish. And so, start putting some fish in there. 49, 51, I always say it's better to go over. It's better to give them a little too much food than not enough food. And then, you just have to count and see how many fish it took. It probably took around 15 fish would be what my guess is, maybe up to 20. And then, all you have to do is write it in this bottom box. It took 50 fish to feed my animal. Now, you and I just did that in, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes, maybe. With a group of students, it can take easily 20 minutes at least to get through all of that. So the classroom is probably our most time-crunched area. It's the area where you are very no-nonsense. You have to just get started and get through the activity. But a lot of the students end up enjoying it. A lot of the teachers really appreciate that we are reinforcing a lot of the stuff that they've already learned that year or in previous years. All the way up until even 3rd and 4th grade students are still learning to measure on a yearly basis. They're still getting refreshers. They're becoming more advanced with it. So it's a great thing to reinforce, or for kindergartners to even introduce to them and start teaching them so that they can be better at it later. And one more fun thing I'll mention about this activity is you might have noticed on our scale, we have a piece of black tape right there. And that's a big question with the students is why do we have that tape? And the answer is actually really simple and interesting once you think about it. A lot of students, especially kindergarten and first graders, don't know what a decimal is. You know, you and I, we probably know what a decimal is. We were taught when we were in 4th or 5th grade. A lot of those kids don't know what a decimal is. So the easiest thing for us to do is cover up the decimal, because our first few times teaching this activity, it turned into, what is this? What is this number? When you try to get up to 50, they were only doing 5.6 instead of 56. So covering up the decimal was the easiest thing to do. But that's it for the classroom. And once they're finished in the classroom, once they're finished with all 4 of their activities, they're done for the day. So we have them stand up and we walk back out towards our exit. Like I mentioned previously, the students get to keep their field guide. This is theirs. They take it home with them. We, of course, keep our clipboards. One of our constant battles every single day after all of our field trips is to refresh all of our clipboards. We have to go through, we make sure the pencils are attached, the pencils are sharpened, and the pencil and the clipboard has a field guide on it. Our other educator, Beth, does that most days for us, which is a humongous help because it is a very labor-intensive process. It usually takes at least an hour or so. We have to reorganize all of our tags. We have to have all of our chaperone guides in their correct place. And so it can take a lot of work. And so when the students are gone, they take their field guide off their clipboard, put their clipboard back in one of our buckets, and they get their jackets and coats, and they're out the door. And finally, the last thing that happens is the teachers get one of these bags that is full of enough coloring books, crayons, and milkweed seeds for each of those students that came on the field trip to have one. Just so that they have something fun to do when they're home, they have crayons to color with, and they have some milkweed seeds so they can actually go out and plant milkweed if they so choose. And our lovely guest experience staff up front prepares these bags for us on a weekly basis, which is a humongous help because, as you can probably imagine, these field trips take a lot of labor to get through, both us teaching the kids while they're here and preparing for the kids to get here. So having all that additional help is really, really nice. All of our staff members help out a lot. If it was just me and Beth doing it, we couldn't do it, so it's really nice that we have an entire staff that supports us in doing this, and that we have teachers who are willing to bring their students here to enjoy our field trips and enjoy our facility. But once the students got all their stuff, they put their clipboards back, they go right back out that door, and it all starts again. And then it'll start again later in the day too. So, like I said, we'll do 3 field trips a day, 5 days a week, so we're running at about 15 or so field trips per week, which might seem like a lot, but it's a great opportunity for students, and since they're free, we try to get as many in here as physically possible. And that's it. That's our field trips. That's the entire process, gone through in about 20 minutes or so. Like I said, when the students here, it takes about an hour and a half, so you got the really quick preview. But I'd like to thank you for joining us again as we showed you some cool behind-the-scenes stuff. Sorry I didn't interview someone today. It was just a whole lot of talking. But next time, I promise, I'll have someone standing next to me that is probably more interesting and knows more cool things about animals, and will show you something neat. Till next time, bye-bye.